Now in this video I'm going to talk to you about loops. That's the most basic type of loop in C++. So let's see how we can declare for loop and how we can use for loop. So for the declaration of for loop, the declaration syntax looks like this. So what you do is you write for and just give these two parentheses, and this for takes three parameters. First is the initialization, and then it is separated by semicolon. Second is the condition, and third is the increment. Okay, and in these curly braces you provide the code you want to execute according to the condition which is met in the loop. So let's take an example. I'm going to declare a loop. So I will write here for, and I will give these two brackets, and I will give these two curly braces, which is the basic syntax of for. Now I'm going to declare the initialization first. So for example, I will take integer int I is equal to 1. Then I will separate it by semicolon. Then I will give the condition. So for example, I want to give the condition loop till my condition reaches 10, for example. So I is less than or equal to 10. Okay. And then the third condition is the increment. So I will give semicolon once again, and I will should say I plus plus. So this means that we are incrementing I by 1. This is just like saying that I is equal to I plus 1. Okay, so this is this and this is same. So we are incrementing I by 1 every time it sees the condition. Oh, it's less than 10 still. It increase the I by 1. Now we will output our variable I. So I will say cout I, and once again endl. Okay, now I will build the program and let's see what happens. I will run the program, and you see what happens here is it's looping. So it goes to the for loop and it initializes I is equal to 1, and it goes into the execution of for loop, and it prints 1, and once again it goes back to for loop and increment it by 1, right? So what's happening? I is equal to 1, it prints it, it increments it by 1, goes to the loop once again. Now this time I is equal to 2, and it sees condition which is less than 10, 2 is less than 10. Then it prints 2 once again and increment I by 1, which is I is equal to 3, goes to the condition once again, and it sees yes, I is equal to 3 is less than 10, so it prints 3 once again, and this loop happens until 10 is printed, and then it goes to the loop once again and sees okay, now I is equal to 11, which is not fulfilling this condition. I is less than or equal to 10. So I'm not going to print this, and I'm going to break the for loop, and I'm going to go out of the loop and return 0. So this is printing these values of I one by one until this condition is met. Okay. Now there is one more thing you can do with the for loop is to decrement the value. It's not necessary that you need to increment the value every time, and it's also not necessary to increase the value by 1. You can increase the value by 2, or you can initialize the value by something else. So let's see. let's initialize I by some other value, for example 6, and I will say the condition would be I is less than or equal to 60, for example, and I will increase this I by 5. So I will write I plus equal to 5. That means increment the value of I by 5 and assign it to I. Okay. So once again, when I build my program and run it, you can see it's showing me 6 for the first time and increase this 6 by 5. So 6 plus 5 is 11, and then it sees the condition, okay, 11 is less than 60, so I'm going to increase it 5 once again. Then 16 is less than 60, so I'm going to increase it by 5 again. So in this way you can initialize your I by any value, and you can increment this I by any value, and you can give any condition uh, which can be equal to, or which can be less than or greater than, or whatever value. The second thing is you can decrement the value of I also. So let me show you this example also. So for example, I initialize um, I is equal to 10, and I want that I should print until I is greater than or equal to 1, okay, and I will decrement I by 1 every time. So I will say minus minus, and this minus is just like I is equal to I minus 1. Okay, so this like I is just like you minus the value of I by 1, right? So now what will happen? Let's see, let's build the program and run it. And you can see this time I starts from 10 because we initialize the value of I as 10. So it prints 10 and it goes to the loop once again, and it sees, okay, I is equal to 9 this time because we minus 10 by 1, which is 9. So I is equal to 9, which is still greater than or equal to 1. So I will print it once again 9, and once again this loop will happen and happen until 1 is reached, and the condition will be false then, right? So in this way you can use for loop in C++. So I'm going to explain you something about increment operator and assignment operator. So let's get started. First of all, I will explain you how assignment operation works. So let's take an example. I will declare an integer x is equal to 25, and I'm going to print it. Very simple stuff. X. Okay. Now, for example, I want to add to this value, add some more value to this value. I have shown you that you can do it like this. X is equal to x plus 5, for example. And what it will do is it will take the value of x and add 5 to it and place it into x once again, right? So let's build it and run it, and it will show us 30. But the more efficient way to do this is, because you are using x 2 times, you can just reduce this by writing it something like this. Okay, so x plus is equal to 5. It will just serve the same purpose as before. It will add 5 to our variable, which is x, and then save it into the same variable. Once again, I will run the program and answer is same. And you can do this assignment operation with multiplication, subtraction, division, or you can take a modulus. So I will show you one by one. First of all, minus. So what it will do is it will take x and subtract 5 from it, and will show the result. It will save the result in this x and will show the result here, right? So run the program and it shows 20. Same is with product or multiplication. You just give asterisk. It will multiply 25 by 5. Just run the program and you see 125, and you can do it with the division also, but remember it doesn't show the remainder, only the multiplication value or multiple value, right? So in this case it will show 5 because we don't have any remainder, but if you divide 25 by 4, it will still, let's see what it gives us, 6, and it doesn't show us the remainder. In order to show the remainder, you need to give this module sign, and then it will just show you the remainder, which is 1, right? So it shows the remainder 1. Now this is about assignment operation. Now I have also told you about increment operation in the for loop tutorial. So for example, you want to increment 1 or add 1 to the variable x, then you can do it like this, x plus plus. And what it will do, it will add 1 to our variable x and print it here, right? Now let me show you a phenomena of, or how you can use this in two different ways. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and paste it here once again, and what I'm going to do is I will increment x by 1 here, just delete this, and then I will show the value of x, right? And both I'm printing. Let's see what happens. And you see what's happening here is, it's, even though we are increasing the value of x by 1, but it's showing 25 first and then 26. So this phenomena is happening because we are adding this plus plus after our x. Okay, so what will happen is, it will, your C++ code will print the value of x first and then add 1 to it, and then when you print x to the second time, it will show the addition value. So 26 it will show here. But for example, you want to add 1 or add this 1 before showing the value. What you need to do is, you just need to add this plus plus before this x. Now it will, what it will do is, it will add 1 to x first and then print this value, and this will be the same. So let's see what happens now. Just close our program and build it, run it, and you can see now this is 2626. So it takes the value of x, increment it, and then prints it. So this is the difference between this prefix of plus plus and trailing plus plus, right? So just remember, if you want to increment the value first, add these plus plus in the front, and if you want to increment the value after showing the value, then you just add it after plus plus. Same rule will be true for minus. So when you do this x minus minus here, and when you run the program, it will still show you the value 25 because the subtraction is not happened here, but it's happened after the execution of this. So in the next line, then you can see 24 in the next line, and when you add this minus minus in front, then your value is subtracted first. So 1 is subtracted from the x, and then it prints 24 and then 24. So this is all about or the basics about assignment operator and increment operator. I'm going to show you how to use while loop in C++. So while loop is other kind of loop other than for loop, which I have already shown you in the last videos. So let's see how we can use while loop. So the syntax of while loop is while, and you give this curly or parenthesis, and then you give these curly braces. Okay, so this is the syntax of while loop. And what this while loop does is it loops around the condition until and unless the condition is met. So let me show you an example. I will take integer called x is equal to 1, for example, and I will say while x is less than or equal to 5, then print some value. So I will say cout and x and line. And now when I run this program, let's see what happens. So when I run this program, you can see there are so many values printing one after another. So this is because our while loop is executing. So because we have given this condition that x should be less than and equal to, so while this condition is true, x will be printed, otherwise x will not be printed. So let's give some logic to this while loop. So I will say x plus plus, so that increment the value of x by 1. So once again when you compile and run the program, it will print 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Because what it's doing is it's going, because we initialize x by 1, it will go to the loop and it sees x is less than 1, and then it increases or increments the value of x by 1, which is 1 plus 1 is 2. So it prints 2 here using this statement, and once again loops around this loop and sees 2 is still less than or equal to 5, and then it increments the value by 1 and it prints it, and once again it loops around and it checks the condition, and once and again when it sees that x, the value of x at the time of 6 is less than or equal to, this is not this condition is not fulfilled, then it goes out of the loop and returns 0. So this is how you can use while loop. Let me show you a better example than this. So let's say you have some number. So I will declare my number as number is equal to 0, because I initialize this number by 0 in order to eliminate any garbage values. And I will also declare a third variable called sum. Okay, and that also I initialize by 0. Now I want to input, I want that user should input the value, so I will say cout input any value, and I will end this line, and then I will say cin, so I will wait for the user to enter the value, and this cin will be stored in the variable number. Okay, Then I want to add all the numbers, so I will say sum is equal to sum plus number. Okay, so what it will do is it will give, or it will take the value and make the sum of these numbers unless and until I don't, disobey this condition, which is x is equal to or less than 5, right? So I will say this condition and I will print the sum here. So I will say the sum is equal to, and once again sum, which is our variable name. Okay, so this loop will ask 5 times to enter the values, and once this values are entered by the user, then it will take the sum of the values and it will print it here. Or otherwise you can show the sum outside the loop so that you have the sum only once but not 5 or 6 times. So let's try and run this program once again, and it says input any value. I will enter 10. Once again it's asking me input any value. 20, once again 30, 40 and 50, and press enter, and it says me the sum is 150, right? This should be equal to, that's why it's showing us a plus sign here, but it should be ideally equal to. So in this way you can take the sum of the values using while loop. Okay, or otherwise if you want while loop to never end, you can give some condition which will never be fulfilled. For example, you can just write something like this, while 1. So this while 1, generally programmers use it to make an infinite loop. Just compile the program and run it, and it says please enter any values. I will keep on entering values and it will never end, because this 1 or while 1 is never ending loop. So I will never go out of this loop. Okay, so I will keep on entering the value and it will never end. So if you want to make infinite loop, just make it like this, or otherwise just make a loop which has some condition, and loop can exit when the condition is met. Okay, now in this video I'm going to show you how to use do while loop in C++. So what is the basic difference between while loop and do while loop? The basic difference between do while loop and while loop is, while loop, if the condition is false and if the condition is not met, it will not execute. But the do while loop, it will execute at least once even if the condition is not true. So let me show you the demonstration. This is the code I have written in the last video. This is simple code in which I have x is equal to 1, number is equal to 0, and sum is equal to 0. I have initialized 3 variables, and in the while loop I am checking whether the value of x is less than or equal to 5, and if it's less than or equal to 5, I ask the user to enter some number and I make the sum of these number, and once the condition is fulfilled and the user has entered the value 5 times in the while loop, then I print the sum. So if you don't remember, just see the last video, it's very simple. So let's say I want to convert this into the do while loop. So for example, let's take an example of while loop first. So what this is doing is, when the condition is true, it's printing the message, but if condition is not true, for example x is less than 1, which is not true, x is equal to 1, so which is not less than 1, this will not execute it. This code will not be executed, and the sum will remain 0 because we have initialized the sum as 0. So let's build it and run the program, and you see the sum is 0 and this is never executed, right? Now, for example, if we write the same code with do while loop, what is the syntax of do while loop is just cut this while loop from here and paste it after this curly braces and just write do above. This is the syntax of do while loop, and do not forget to give this semicolon here. So this is the simple syntax of do while loop. Okay, so now even if the condition is false, our program will be executed once because it says do this while this condition is met. So it will be executed once, and then the program will check, okay, this condition is not met, so once again it will not loop or it will not execute the same. So let's run the program once again, or execute the program once again and run it, and you see the program is executed. Input any value, which is this, so it goes inside the loop, and I give any value 56 and press enter, so it gives me the sum 56, right? So that means the program is executed at least one, even if the condition is not really true. So this is the basic difference between do while loop. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please rate, comment and subscribe, and bye for now.